The introduction of the Focke-Wulf, 190 inches late, 1941, was an absolute disaster for the Allies, plunging the air war into crisis. Nicknamed the Butcher Bird, this German fighter represented a significant technological leap, boasting superior speed, a phenomenal roll rate, and a devastating combination of heavy cannons and machine guns. It immediately and completely outclassed the British Spitfire Mach V, forcing Allied pilots into defensive, life-or-death maneuvers and causing casualty rates to soar. This dominance was amplified by a massive, crippling problem. The Allies had zero technical intelligence on the FOV 190's design. Without an intact example to study, their engineers were blind. They couldn't determine its vulnerabilities, its power settings, or the proper counter-tactics needed to defeat it. This intelligence vacuum was so severe that the British High Command was driven to draft Operation Air Thief, a desperate, near-suicidal commando raid intended solely to steal an W-190 from a heavily defended airfield in occupied France. The willingness to sacrifice dozens of elite troops for a single aircraft underscored the FOV 190's unparalleled strategic value. It was the key that could unlock the entire air war. The solution, however, would come not from a bloody raid, but from a catastrophic navigational blunder made by a German ace, Oberleutnant Armin Faber. On the 23rd of June, 1942, Faber, a decorated and highly experienced adjutant, was flying one of the newest, most pristine FOV 190A models during a mission to intercept an Allied raid. After a fierce, high-speed dogfight over the English Channel where he successfully engaged and shot down an Allied plane, Faber became critically and completely disoriented. Low on fuel and adrenaline fatigued, the pilot made a fatal mistake. He looked down and misidentified the wide body of water below. Convinced he was flying south toward his home base in occupied France, he was, in reality, flying dangerously north, having overshot the English coast entirely. He saw a major airfield below and assumed it was German. He had actually flown over the Bristol Channel and was preparing to land at RAF Pembrey in Wales. Completely unaware he was about to deliver the Allies the most valuable piece of technical intelligence captured during the entire war. This single, unbelievable navigational error set the stage for one of the most consequential accidents of the conflict. Faber's unbelievable mistake culminated when he spotted an operational airfield below and, believing he was landing at his home base in France, executed a flawless approach. He waggled his wings in a traditional gesture of victory, lowered his gear, and smoothly landed the virtually undamaged FOV 190 at RAF Pembrey in South Wales. The scene was one of total bewilderment. A lone, pristine German fighter taxiing to a halt, while the few RAF personnel, present primarily ground crew, stared in shock. The first person to reach the aircraft, a corporal, found Faber in the cockpit, looking around, his face etched with disbelief as he realized the airfield was distinctly British. Faber was captured immediately, reportedly in utter despair at the catastrophic blunder, while his priceless fighter was instantly secured and wrapped in canvas to hide its presence. The captured FOV 190 was quickly deemed the most valuable single piece of military intelligence of the entire war. It was rushed under heavy guard to the Royal Aircraft Establishment, RAE, at Farnborough, where the best Allied engineers, mechanics, and test pilots began a meticulous dissection. This was the moment they had yearned for. They could finally study the inner workings of the Butcher Bird. The forensic analysis revealed its secrets: the complex electronic propeller control system, the robust structure, and the intricacies of its powerful engine. Every screw, wire, and component was analyzed, providing an invaluable blueprint of their enemy's technological capabilities. The critical revelation came during the test flights. Allied pilots, flying the captured FOR-190, confirmed its immense speed and low-altitude advantages, but also discovered its fatal, exploitable flaw. They found that its turning radius became exceptionally poor when maneuvering at high speed, and its performance dropped off significantly above 20,000 feet. The German technological marvel had an Achilles heel. This single piece of intelligence instantly provided Allied pilots with the exact counter-tactics needed. Never engage the FOR-190 below 20,000 feet, and if forced into a fight, avoid the tight turn and engage in a vertical rather than horizontal maneuver. This knowledge was instantly disseminated across all Allied air forces and had a direct, game-changing influence on Allied aircraft development. The intelligence gained from Faber's accidental gift confirmed the design choices of new fighters and sped up the deployment of effective countermeasures. Knowing the FU-190's altitude limitations and its structural weight made the development of the high-altitude P-51 Mustang a strategic imperative, allowing Allied designs to leapfrog the German technology. Faber's capture delivered the most valuable single piece of military intelligence of the war. The FU-190 was instantly rushed under heavy guard to the Royal Aircraft Establishment, RAE, at Farnborough, where Allied engineers and test pilots began an exhaustive dissection. This forensic analysis finally revealed the Butcher bird's innermost secrets, the complexities of its electronic propeller controls, its robust structure, and the specifications of its BMW 801 radial engine. Every component was mapped, giving the Allies a precise blueprint of their enemy's technological capabilities. The breakthrough came with the test flights. Allied pilots confirmed the FU-190's superb speed and low-altitude advantage, but crucially, they discovered its fatal, exploitable flaw. The FU-190 had a poor turning radius at high speeds and, most significantly, its performance crippled above 20,000 feet. The German technological marvel had an obvious Achilles heel, a distinct operational ceiling that could be easily exploited. This revelation triggered an immediate and decisive shift in Allied air tactics. The new, mandatory counter-tactics were simple but lethal. Allied pilots were instructed to avoid horizontal turning fights and instead immediately execute a vertical maneuver, zoom climb, when engaged. This forced the German pilot to either disengage or follow the Allied fighter into the thin air above 22,000 feet, where the superior supercharged Merlin engines gave the Allies a massive, unassailable advantage. The intelligence had a monumental impact, accelerating Allied aircraft development. The precise data on the FW-190's altitude limitations was instantly shared with American manufacturers, directly influencing and speeding up the final, critical design of the high-altitude, long-range P-51 Mustang. The Allies now knew exactly what performance thresholds they needed to exceed, allowing them to engineer a fighter that could guarantee superiority. Faber's mistake resulted in a profound psychological and strategic victory. The FU-190's reign of terror was over, its weakness mapped, and its mystery solved. The Allies could now reliably predict and counter the German fighter, drastically reducing bomber losses, saving countless lives, and forcing the German high command into a costly defensive struggle. The captured W-190 became the indispensable blueprint that cemented the Allies' path to achieving overwhelming air dominance over Europe. The strategic knowledge gained from the captured FW-190 had consequences that rippled through the rest of the war. Once Allied pilots were fully trained in the new vertical countертactics, the Butcher bird's kill ratios plummeted. German pilots, previously confident in their technical superiority, were suddenly frustrated by Allied fighters that refused to engage in the predictable horizontal turning battles, forcing them into unfavorable altitude contests. This decline marked the true end of German air superiority in the West, transforming their offensive capability into a strained defensive struggle. The psychological warfare element intensified. The inexplicable shift in Allied tactics became a source of intense demoralization and confusion within the Luftwaffe. German High Command launched exhaustive internal investigations, searching for a spy or a leak, never imagining that the key to their defeat was a simple navigational error by one of their own men. The sustained Allied air defense, now equipped with predictive knowledge of the WWII's limitations, created a perception of overwhelming Allied technical superiority, compounding the German psychological defeat. The intelligence directly influenced the P-51 Mustang's final form. The data confirmed that the high-altitude performance of the Merlin engine was the ultimate answer to the WW-190. American manufacturers accelerated the production of the P-51, incorporating the knowledge of the WW-190's design robustness and firepower into their own upgrades. The Mustang, armed with the precise limitations of its primary German rival, evolved into the flawless, long-range escort fighter that could meet and defeat the foe 190 anywhere over Germany, securing the crucial strategic bombing campaign. The cost of the blunder was enormous. The value of the intact FW-190 was calculated in thousands of saved Allied lives and hundreds of millions of dollars in accelerated development time. Faber's single mistake cost the Luftwaffe its tactical edge and forced Germany to expend vast resources developing countermeasures and newer, highly complex fighters like the Ta-152 to regain a fleeting advantage. The capture bought the Allies crucial months of tactical superiority, allowing them to consolidate air power. Armin Faber's accidental landing was a moment of profound military irony. He intended to land in occupied France, but instead delivered the Allies the precise strategic weapon intelligence needed to dismantle his own air force. The secret fighter became the ultimate blueprint for its own defeat. The accidental surrender of one pilot's plane ultimately led to the strategic surrender of German air superiority, irrevocably changing the trajectory of the war and hastening the Allied victory.